If you clicked on this video, you're probably trying to dive into the amazing world of comics, and in this video, I'm going to be breaking down all the different types of formats and which one you might think is best for you. So without further ado, let's get started. Getting into comics for the first time can seem really intimidating. There's so many heroes, there's years and years of stories. Some people will harp on this continuity nonsense, but my number one advice that I'm going to give you guys is just start. Find a book number one or an issue number one. Whether it's Batman, Spider-Man, whether you're into horror, crime, sci-fi, just find a book number one and start. When I first started, I was definitely guilty of trying to follow continuity and read everything in the correct order, but you quickly realize that it's easier said than done, and it starts to feel like much more of a task than a hobby that you actually enjoy. So now really I'll only read like the big universal events in somewhat of an order, like Crisis on Infinite Earths and Infinite Crisis, just the big events where you'll see all the heroes come together as one and fight the same enemy. But other than that, I just read whatever I want in whatever order I want, and I advise you guys to do the same. It just makes the hobby a lot more enjoyable. Okay, now that we've picked out which hero or genre we want to start with, let's decide how we want to read our comics. Okay, so the first format we will discuss is single issues. The way I like to describe single issues is basically think of one episode of a TV show, and that's your single issue. Single issues all have numbers on the top corner of each book, letting you know which issue of the story you're looking at. Each issue contains around 32 pages, and they're just a very small portion to an overall story. New single issues come out every week, but each story only comes out about once a month. So if I'm reading Battle Beast, I'm waiting roughly a month between each issue, and that goes pretty much for all series that you pick up. A cool thing about single issues is that they have what are called variant covers, and variant covers are basically just a different cover to the same exact issue. So if you don't like the original cover to a specific issue, they'll have a bunch of different covers you can choose from. Single issues usually run at about $4 to $5. And if single issues are your thing, I highly recommend you downloading this little app called Comic Geeks. It's a free app that shows you all the new comics coming out each week. You can even see books that are coming out months from now. You can also set up what's called a pull list, which is basically, it just keeps track of whatever series you're following. You add it to your pull list, and every single week you open up the app, you'll automatically see which books you have on your pull list that are coming out on any given week, and it doesn't cost anything, so it's a very useful tool. And most comic shops will let you set up a pull list directly with them. So each week they'll just set your books to the side. You walk in, you pay, they hand over your books, and you're good to go. And another bonus that comes with setting up a pull list with your shop is that depending on the shop, you can see yourself getting a 20 to 25% discount each week, which will save you a lot of money in the long run. Okay, so the next format we'll get into are trade paperbacks. Trade paperbacks look a lot more like a regular book, and that's because they contain around 5 to 6 issues per book. Trade paperbacks come in a numbered order. It usually will say it on the spine or on the front cover, so depending on the series, it can only have one trade paperback, or it could have a bunch more. It really just depends on the series. Trade paperbacks typically release around 3 to 6 months after that 5th or 6th single issue is released. So if a series is on issue 5 or 6, you can expect a trade paperback around 3 to 6 months later. If a series is on like issue 10 or 12, you can expect another trade paperback another 3 to 6 months later, and so on and so on. And these books will typically run you around $15 to $16. Trade paperbacks are nice because you get a lot more content in one place and at a slightly better price than if I was buying those same 5 or 6 issues as singles. It's very easy to just spend a little bit of time on the weekend and binge an entire trade. And the app that I mentioned earlier, Comic Geeks, will also keep you up to date on all the latest trades coming out. So honestly, everyone, just download Comic Geeks. It's an extremely useful app, and there's something on there for everyone. Okay, so next up, we've got deluxe editions. Deluxe editions are basically just super fancy trade paperbacks. They carry the same 5 to 6 issues that a trade paperback would. The only big difference here really is that these are hardcovers. And most deluxe editions have what is called a dust jacket or a slipcover that you should always remove while you're reading just to prevent damaging it. And underneath that dust jacket, there's usually some really nice artwork directly on the book. And besides the hardcover, the only real difference that you'll get from a deluxe edition over a trade paperback is at the back of the book you'll see some artwork or some sketches, maybe an early draft of the story, but besides that, you're not getting any extra issues or a longer story or anything like that. And because of the much higher quality of these books and those extras that you get at the back, these typically run at a price range of about $50 to $55. Okay, so now let's take a look at compendiums. These carry around 45 to 60 issues. Earlier in the video, I compared single issues to like watching a single episode of a TV show. Think about compendiums as watching an entire season. Each compendium can take years to release, and keep in mind, not every story even reaches that 45 issue minimum to be turned into a compendium. So because of that, not all series get a compendium. So if you're waiting to read a story until it gets turned into a compendium, just know it may take a very, very long time, or unfortunately, it may never happen at all. And another thing I'll mention about compendiums is weight and comfort. This thing is basically like a 5-pound dumbbell, and it can feel really uncomfortable trying to read one of these things. So my best advice for you is try and find like a flat surface, like a table or a desk, just so you're more comfortable when you're reading it and you don't damage the book in any type of way. And another super important thing I'm going to add about compendiums is when you're reading it at that desk or that table, do not open these things completely flat. I learned that the hard way myself with my very first compendium, and I ended up damaging it pretty bad. Instead, try reading it like this. It may feel awkward or uncomfortable at first, but in the long run, it'll protect the spine of the book, and your book will have a much longer shelf life. Compendiums run around about $60 to $65 each, which is probably honestly the best bang for your buck that you'll find. So as long as you take care of that spine and don't make the same mistake I did, which you know not to now, you will definitely be getting your money's worth with a compendium. Last up, we've got the big boys, the omnibus, also referred to as an omni. Similarly to compendiums, omnis carry a whopping 30 to 60 issues, sometimes even more. So with that, these things can get pretty pricey, anywhere from $85 to $150 plus. These are my favorite format to read, but definitely not my wallet's favorite format. Even though omnis are pretty expensive, they are really, really high quality. They're hardcover, they have the nice artwork underneath the dust jacket, and they look absolutely beautiful on shelves. So not only are they a book, they're a really, really nice collector piece, in my opinion. Like the deluxe editions from earlier, omnis also come with those extras in the back of the book, the artwork, the sketches, and the rough drafts. And I forgot to mention earlier, you do not get those extras in your compendiums. And if you thought compendiums were heavy, omnis are even worse. They're basically like a textbook. They even have a table of contents, like a textbook does as well. Let me see if I can... There, I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, these things are basically textbooks, and you also want to remove that dust jacket when you're reading these, same way you would with those deluxe editions. Remove that dust jacket just so it doesn't get damaged and it stays in pristine condition. So there's also a very specific way you guys are going to want to open these books up for the first time and loosen up the spine a bit. So you're going to start off, you're going to remove that dust jacket, set it off to the side. We're going to pick up our book, we're going to lay it flat on its spine, standing straight up, kind of like this. And we're just going to open each cover, the front and the back. And then we're just going to start flipping a few pages at a time and sitting them down like so. Some from the front, some from the back. And you're going to keep doing this all the way until you have no more pages to flip. Just flipping a few pages at a time and getting the book kind of used to being opened up. This is going to prevent damage and having like a wonky spine and the book opening up all kinds of weird ways. And in the long run, keep your books in very good condition. I'd recommend you guys doing this about 3 or 4 times. So once you flip all the pages down, close the book up, and then repeat the same process a few more times. And try not to push the pages down or flatten them down completely. Just allow the pages to fall where they want to fall, and don't worry about pushing them down. This may seem very tedious, but these things are very expensive, and you want to make sure you're taking care of them very well. And the final thing that I'll add about these is if you're in the middle of reading one of these and someone decides to break into your house, just chuck this at him and he'll be knocked out until the cops show up. Now that you all know the basics, all there's left for you to do is go dive headfirst into some amazing stories. If you enjoyed this video and it helped, don't forget to like. If you enjoy comic book content, subscribe while you're at it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.